Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
You are listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. I want to thank all of you for tuning in today. I'm going to jump right into what we need to discuss, because the topic I'm going to discuss with all of you today can actually translate into so many other areas of your overall planning. Each and every week, what we try to do on the Big Picture Retirement Show is give you tools and strategies that you can use to enhance your retirement planning, your investment planning, your estate planning each and every week. You know, some of you might be just 5 years away from retirement. Some of you may be already retired and you need to make sure, hey, you know, I need to make sure I'm in a good place, and I want to make sure that my standard of living is not going to change moving forward. And I need to make sure that if I, have to make adjustments along the way, I want to make sure I have all the correct tools and strategies to make sure I'm in a good place and enhancing things that I'm doing. So whether you're already retired or maybe you're close to retirement, this show is for you. We're going to give you some great tools and strategies. Now, if you have questions regarding any of the topics that we cover on the show, you can give us a call, 800-700-1980, and we can set up a 15-minute strategy call and answer any questions you may have about your specific situation. So just because, the topic, you don't have a question about the topic that I'm covering with you today, doesn't mean you can't give us a call. Give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980. You can also reach us on the web at safeguardinvestment.com. And if you care to, right now we are doing webinars where you can now watch our webinars from the comfort of your home. Doesn't cost you anything, no obligation whatsoever. So you just give us a call, 800-700-1980, and the staff will email you the link that you'll need in order to attend that webinar, and they'll give you all the information for that. So with that being said, I want to jump into a particular topic that I think will shed light, not just on this specific area, but in many areas regarding overall planning, the 4% rule. And here's the thing, the 4% rule could totally ruin your retirement. And what I mean by that is this, listen, a recent survey says that the number one fear of retirees is running out of money in retirement. Because of this, many financial advisors often recommend only withdrawing 4% each year from your investments in order to avoid running out of money. Now, we believe this could be very dangerous advice, and if you follow it, it's possible to actually run out of money in retirement. So stay with us for this entire episode as we share with you how the 4% rule could ruin your retirement. Now, I'm going to explain exactly what the 4% rule is. And some of you, whether you're aware of it or not, the advisor you're working with may be using it, and it's important to know what rule they're using when it comes to your income planning and all the rest of it. So now, again, just because it doesn't pertain to you at this moment, because maybe you're not taking income out of your investments, I'm going to share with you some concepts here that will parlay into other areas, whether, again, maybe you're 5 years away from retirement, maybe you are already retired. So what is the definition of the 4% rule? Well, basically what this is talking about is there was a rule that was created that says, listen, as long as you're pulling no more than 4% out of your investments each and every year, your money's going to last the rest of your life. Here's the thing that I want to point out, folks. The 4% rule was created by William Bengen back in 1994. What were CD rates? What were interest rates back then, back in 1994? Well, you may not remember the exact amount, but you do know they were much higher than they are today. What was market volatility like back then? Market volatility was much less than it is today. And then, of course, here's a biggie, life expectancy tables. So here's the thing, this 4% rule, when it was created back in 1994, I could get a CD that probably paid me more than 4% at the time. Market volatility was much less. Bond interest rates, municipal bond interest rates were paying much more. Also, life expectancy tables were lowered as well. So now we're in an environment that market volatility has increased. Interest rates are as close to zero as they can, I guess, possibly be. And longevity, life expectancy tables now show people living longer. So the rules of the game back then have changed. And the challenge that you have is that many advisors are still following some of these old antiquated rules. And they haven't changed with the game because all they're doing is just following some marketing concept, or they're following some strategy or some theory that was taught to them many years ago, whatever, and not putting a thought process into it. And we always have to say, okay, when was this created, and what was the thought process behind it? And how many advisors heard of the 4% rule, randomly utilizing it to position your investments? And maybe you don't know that they're using the 4% rule. You just know that they're positioning your investments. But how many of them are doing it and they don't even know who created it? They never even read the article that was written by William Bengen that created that 4% rule. So they don't even know what went into it. They just know, hey, this is what I was taught and this is what I follow, and they're doing this blindly. And if they make mistakes based on your retirement, guess who pays the price, folks? It's not the advisor. All he can say is, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Here, this is a 4% rule. It's a general rule that was, given to me, and I'm now following it for you. But here's the other thing about some of these general rules that are out there that many of these guys are following. And I'm not just talking about the 4% rule. There's other rules out there. But here's the other thing. When these rules were created, let's assume it's viable today. Well, here's the thing that has not gone into the algorithm that they're using, folks. Here's the thing that has not been calculated into these general rules of thumb that you're going to read about is your specific situation. When that 4% rule was created, along with many other rules, guess what? Your specific tax situation was not calculated into that algorithm. Your specific personal situation was not calculated into the algorithm because let's face it, life throws us curveballs. So the fact that you had maybe you have a family emergency, maybe you have a health condition that's going to require some extra costs or expenses. Maybe you have a family member or a child that you need to help or assist while they, going through some tough times. There's so many different curveballs that life throws at us that a general rule of thumb can't calculate for. So this is where a good advisor that specializes in this area can say, hey, listen, you know what? Based upon your particular situation right now, here's maybe a good starting point, but this plan that you have needs to be reevaluated on a regular basis. And then based upon life happening, which we know occurs, unfortunately, here's how we can bob and weave as opposed to just following some general rule of thumb and hope that it all works out. Now, if you have questions on any of these topics I'm talking about, again, you may have a question about this specific topic, but you may have a question about some other topic, or maybe you just want someone to put a fresh pair of eyes on your situation. Hey, Rick, I just need somebody to, give me a second opinion on my 401k, my TSP, my 457, my 403b, my SEP, my IRA. I just want to make sure I'm on track. Give us a call. We can set up a 15-minute strategy phone call where you can ask me any questions that you'd like. And I can, in a short period of time, be able to kind of let you know or answer any question, let you know how you can maximize things in your situation, or maybe just, answer the questions that you do have. If you care to take advantage of that, just give us a call. Toll free 800-700-1980. Again, our toll free number is 800-700-1980. If you care to hop in on one of our webinars now, right from the comfort of your own home, literally 30, 45-minute webinar, a lot of good information, talk about a lot of these different topics and also current topics that might relate to you. Give us a call, toll free 800-700-1980, and our staff will send you a link for you to be able to attend that webinar that we're doing each and every week. And they'll give you the dates and times so you can figure out a time that works best for you to attend our webinar. Now, I'm going to go into some of these general rules. a little bit more in detail. I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm talking about and how it can parlay into other areas. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to pick up where I left off regarding general rules and some other strategies you may want to consider when it comes to your overall planning.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
And we're back. You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. Again, if you have any questions regarding any of the topics that we discuss on the show, or maybe you just want to set up a 15-minute strategy call, maybe you have some quick questions regarding your, particular investments or your retirement planning, or, some of these other estate planning, some of the other topics that we discuss on the show, or maybe a quick question about long-term care or your trust and will planning, give us a call. Again, 800-700-1980. Again, our toll-free number is 800-700-1980. Now, we were just talking about some general rules of thumb that can get you into trouble if we're just following things blindly. What we did talk about is the 4% rule, and I'm going to share with you how it's going to parlay into other areas. But the 4% rule, what we said is, listen, that rule basically states that as long as you're pulling 4% out of your investments, your money will last, the rest of your life as far as for income purposes. And we said that rule was created back in 1994, and a lot of things have changed. Unfortunately, many advisors are still using that rule, and interest rates have changed since then. Market volatility has changed since then. Actuarial tables have changed since then. So this is where people could actually run out of money by using that 4% rule. So you need to have a plan that is specific to your situation. The other thing that I also stressed prior to the break was that the one thing that is not calculated in many of these rules is your specific scenario. Because the one thing that they can't calculate is, listen, life is going to throw you a curveball. Your circumstances are going to be different than somebody else's. Your goals, your objectives are going to be different. The thing that these algorithms can't calculate is, hey, what is your specific tax situation? Oh, God forbid you have a family emergency, or maybe a health emergency, or, something else occurs and you need to help an elderly parent or grandmother. These are scenarios and dynamics that are not calculated into these rules. So a good advisor that specializes in retirement planning, that has a relationship with you, can actually sit down, ask you appropriate questions, figure out your goals, your objectives, and create a plan that's designed around you and that can address your specific scenario. That way you don't get into trouble. And they're just not following general rules of thumb that may or may not pertain to you. Because again, if a mistake happens, folks, guess who pays the price? It's certainly not the advisor. All he can say is, well, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I was following the 4% rule, and this is what, we've been using for everybody for, many, many years, and, I'm sorry. Sorry isn't going to help your situation. So this is where, if you have questions about these topics, give us a call, 800-700-1980. Maybe you got questions outside of the topics I'm talking about today, give us a call. So another general rule of thumb, which is now those of you that currently have 401ks, TSPs, 457s, IRAs, some of you work for Kaiser, maybe the electric company, maybe the gas company. Here's another general rule that's out there that we got to discuss. And another rule out there is the rule of 100. Basically, the idea behind the rule of 100 says, hey, listen, based upon where you're at in life, age-wise, will determine how your investments should be structured, your allocation. So those of you that are listening to a show right now, if I were to ask you, hey, your current allocation, the way your investments are structured, what was the rationale or what was the objective behind how they are structured right now? Some of you might say, well, I'm not quite sure. Or you might say, hey, you know what? I got a list of choices from my 401k company and they showed me rates of return and I just kind of picked the ones that seem to have the best rates of return. If that is kind of your answer or something similar to that, Or maybe, hey, you know what, my advisor, I just had him pick them out for me, and you don't know what strategy he's using. It's going to be important that you do understand, because here's the idea behind the rule of 100. Rule of 100 says, hey, listen, depending upon where we're at in life determines how your investment allocation should be. So quick example, let's say you're 50, and what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we minus 50 from 100. That gives me 50. That means that my split should be 50 equities to 50 bond. Like, so I do a 50-50 portfolio based on age. Maybe it should be 60-40, 70-30, whatever it is based upon your age. So you're just minusing your age from 100, and that tells you what your split should be compared to equities, more risky investments compared to more conservative investments. Because there's two things we're trying to battle when it comes to retirement planning and investing. And the two things that we need to battle is, number one, inflation, and number two, volatility. And this is where this rule comes into play. Well, here's the thing, folks. Again, this rule is a general rule. And just because we minus your age from 100, does that mean, based upon your specific situation and your specific risk tolerance and your specific goals and objectives, no matter what, that's what your split should be? And unfortunately, many advisors are following, again, these rules, and there's no thought process behind it. Or maybe you're investing in your 401k and your TSPs and your 457s. And, we understand many of you don't specialize in this area. So, you just kind of pick, and there's no real strategy behind how your current asset allocation is set up. And what may be good for you today, asset allocation wise, may need to change going forward. So here's the other thing I want to add to this. I get calls all the time where people are like, Rick, I'm so confused. I hear commercials on TV that tell me all annuities are bad and I have an annuity. Then I see another commercial on TV that tell me the bad things about mutual funds. And I have an advisor just put me in some mutual funds. Then I see another commercial on TV that tell me that, annuities are great. Then I see another commercial on TV that tells me I should be investing in gold, or I should be investing in bonds, or I should be buying. It's all confusing. Folks, what you're watching on TV and a lot of these things that you see out there, again, these are people that are just marketing to you, and they're not taking your situation into consideration. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Anytime someone tells you that all of something is bad, your antenna should be going up. Because if somebody tells you that all annuities are bad, or all mutual funds are bad, or all, bonds or real estate, you should stay away from real estate because all, real estate investments are just horrible. Generally, they're trying to sell you something. The point that I want to make is that all investments were designed for specific purposes and have certain objectives. So based upon a client's goals and objectives would determine what their allocation should be and how they should be invested. So we have to take your situation into context. So a great example I can give you is, let's say you call me up and you're like, Rick, you know what? Somebody just put me in an annuity and I just saw a commercial that says all annuities are bad and they charge too much in fees and they do this and they do that and whatever. Well, a good advisor will say, hey, listen, before I can tell you if that's good or bad for you, let me ask you some questions first. Let me find out what was the context, what was the reason why you got into this in the first place, and let me find out the features of this particular product. And after diagnosing it, we may find out, you know what? It actually makes sense why you're in here. And I can understand the rationale behind going into it. Now, here's another scenario. Maybe we find out, hey, this is completely the wrong thing for you. Somebody put you into this particular product, and based upon your situation, based upon your tax bracket, based upon your goals, your objectives, and some other things, this is completely wrong for you. Here's a better way to enhance what you have going on. Or maybe something that was set up for you many years ago no longer pertains. For example, I had a client that, came in to see me not too long ago, and they had a product that they've had for well over 20 years. I think they're pushing closely 30 years. And the product that they got into 30 years ago, they saved a pretty good amount of money in it, and it was geared more towards income for when they retire. But now that they're only about 5 years away from retirement, their situation has changed. With Social Security and the pensions that they're receiving, we now realize this money that this particular bucket of money that they save that's specifically for income, they won't need it for income because the Social Security and the pensions are more than enough to cover all their income and they have no debt. So now what we can do is we can say, hey, listen, let's position this money more for growth and more for offsetting potentially costs of long-term care or healthcare costs which is a concern for them down the road. And also whatever money they don't use of it, they want to make sure it's going to pass on to their children more efficiently because there's certain children they want to make sure they maximize what they're leaving to due to special needs situations. So now what was perfectly suitable for them back then, because circumstances have changed, we need to adjust how things are going. So, they say, hey, listen, this particular product served its purpose at the time, but I need to make adjustments. So again, we don't want you to follow general rules. What we want to do is create something that fits you like a glove. Now, if you're listening to the show right now, please, if you just want a second opinion, set up a strategy call with me by calling the show right now, 800-700-1980. You can set up a phone call and you can ask me any specific questions you have about your situation, and let's make sure you are on track. Also, if you care to attend any of our webinars, give us a call as well. Our staff can send you the link to where you can attend that webinar and give you the times and dates. You can do it out of the comfort of your own home. There's no cost or obligation for signing. This is something we're doing for our radio listeners and other folks as well. And there's no cost or obligation. You can also reach us on the web at safeguardinvestment.com, but just give us a call, 800-700-1980. So that brings me to the close of the show today. I want to thank all of you so much. Have a great day. Look forward to talking to you next week. Again, if you have any questions or concerns or comments or suggestions, give us a call toll-free, 800-700-1980. You can also reach us on the web at safeguardinvestment.com. Again, this is Rick Rivera, and you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. Have a great week.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC. This radio show is a paid placement.